When it comes to pandemic relief in Pottawattamie County, some residents want more of a say on where the funding goes.
KTV News Watch 7's Kaylee Searcy attended tonight's town hall in Oakland and has a response from county supervisors. Kaylee?
Tonight, the community urged leaders to put the next round of ARPA funding, $9 million worth, into rebuilding the backbone of Pottawattamie County, from affordable housing to helping small businesses.
My name is Jeff.
Farmers, teachers, and community leaders in Pottawattamie County share the same goal, helping those hit the hardest during the pandemic.
I'd sure like to see something done for the people who had to go. They had to go to work, and they put themselves and their families in harm's way.
And using COVID recovery funds to get people back on their feet.
That the small businesses have been hurt the worst. Just day after day, week after week, month after month, I heard about small businesses couldn't survive.
Some residents worried the money isn't going to people who need it the most, but the County Board of Supervisors says it's listening to concerns.
We're not going to discount what their thoughts are and some of their ideas.
Justin Schultz says the county is working with an outside company to go into small Iowa communities, pinpointing their needs and what's most important.
And to figure out what kind of projects that they have to basically help advance their community, help supplement some of the losses they may have had during COVID-19.
But Schultz says there's not enough money to meet every need.
We have over $100 million worth of requests.
He says the county is working to add more funding through budgets, grants, and federal relief.
We're going to research it and do our best to try to, meet the needs of those communities.
Pottawattamie County will get that next round of ARPA funding next month, but county supervisors say it could take months to decide who gets it. They're still asking for input from the community. Back to you.
All right, Kaylee, thanks.
Sean, I would say yours about 10 minutes would be good. Well, with your story and also collecting stories.
Oh, okay.
Would be good. And then at that point, it'll go to Jill, who will run the COVID Recovery Fund Spending Survey. We've got physical surveys and the digital QR code survey. So anyone that doesn't want to do the digital code, I've transposed it into a document there. And then
Solicited information for out Oh, is that
Need to play Kickstart My House.
You can edit that in there, can't you?
I can, yeah.
Do that, please.
And I get a strike from YouTube.
Oh, you would?
No, I don't. Maybe not.
Good evening, folks. My name is Dave Michaud. I'm the regional organizer with United Today, Stronger Tomorrow. And before we get started, I introduce myself and I talk about why we're here and why I'm here. I'd like to open with self-acknowledgements from the crowd, from elected leaders, members of the military, community leaders. So before I introduce myself, I'd like to give the privilege for anyone in the crowd to stand up, introduce themselves so people can see who's standing side by side with them in this effort for public input on the spending of COVID recovery funds. So if anyone would like to stand up and introduce themselves.
My name is Jill Shudak. I serve on the Constables Community Board of Education.
My name is John Stringhauer. I'm currently on City Council for McClellan.
I'm Sean Smith, and I'm running for Board of Supervisors for Pot County. 27 years, if I make that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lisa Lima. I'm the Democratic Chair of Pottawattamie County.
My name is Jeff Shudak. I am president of the Western Iowa Labor Federation, which represents 36 counties and 10,000 union workers. And I'm also a candidate for Pottawattamie Board of Supervisors.
I'm Brian Jack Holder. I'm a citizen journalist and a candidate of the Liberty Caucus for Iowa's new 4th Congressional District. So my name will be on the ballot in November. Thank you.
Any last self-acknowledgements? All right, well, thank you very much for everyone that stood. Again, like I said, my name is Dave Bashaw, and I'd like to start with who United Today Stronger Tomorrow is, which is whom I'm a regional organizer for. United Today Stronger Tomorrow was founded in response to the COVID-19 pandemic to identify the most prevalent impacts due to COVID-19 on our local economies and communities, build a base of power, and shift that power into the hands of everyday citizens to set the agenda for the future. We all struggle through this together, and we have to recover together. I'm a farmer, one of the youngest first-generation farmers in the country, 27 years old, and I've been an organizer for about a decade, since I was 17 years old. I've worked with unions, I've worked on political campaigns, I've done community organizing, I've done it all. Some of the ground rules I would like to set for why we're here is we're focusing on the second round of COVID recovery funding coming into Pottawattamie County. The county received a total of $18 million. The first $9 million came and has been spent, and the second $9 million is expected from the United States Treasury next month in May. And the reason why we're here is to discuss the spending of that $9 million that is coming. Now, we're not going to try to ignore it. We know that there may be some agitation in the crowd about how the first round was spent. That will be highlighted just for framing and to show everybody. That will be highlighted by a coalition member later on. But I do want to emphatically, impress on folks that we are concerned about the second round of funding. What's done is done. That yes, did they use millions of dollars to purchase Mount Crescent Ski Hill? Yes, they did. Did they use millions of dollars for plans to build a public health care center all the way in western South County? Yes, they did. But you rural folks here, and I'm rural, my farm, closest town, has 53 people that live in it, so I'm real rural. Our voices matter too, and that's why we're here. And obviously, your voices matter, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So some of the ground rules are, we will have some public speaking portions. We would hope that people could limit that to 2 minutes and sharing their story of self, not just their story of self, but also where they think that these funds would be best suited to be used in their communities. We have attempted to engage the Board of Supervisors to invite them to this. My engagement started back in November of 2021 after surveying the residents of the county on the Public Health Care Center project. My conversation started with the Iowa West Foundation. I met with them and then attempted to contact supervisors individually, starting with Supervisor Wickman, and got no response. We did the polling, and we presented those poll results to the Board of Supervisors and offered help in doing public surveying, and were met with silence. We then held a press conference last month where we called on the Board of Supervisors to hold public input meetings with the community. The response that we got from them was that they would be happy to work with us on this, so we sent a letter requesting that they set up town halls, that they do online surveying for people that can't make it to the town halls, and then with all due diligence, practice transparency when they make these decisions with the spending of the funds. We were met with silence, so we set up these town halls and invited them to the town halls. Unfortunately, they're not here. To my understanding, they're at a fundraiser for the re-election campaign this year. So with that, I will say that wasn't the end of our due diligence. We've been to multiple Board of Supervisors meetings. We had over 100 letters sent to the Board of Supervisors, not asking for anything in particular, but these over 100, I think it's 104 residents sent letters asking simply for public input. That's it, just public input. So with that, I've spoken way too much. I want to get some community folks up here, so I'm going to pass it off to Fran to share what we've learned in surveying over 15,000 residents.
Hi, I'm Fran Parr. I've got my dress flannel on. I'm sorry, it was the biggest thing I had in the house today. At any rate, really important that we're focusing on the future here, but we have to acknowledge a little bit of what we've learned in the responses between the city or the urban residents and the rural, the majority of the county by footprint here. And that's really important. So this issue came up originally with the public health care facility like Dave was talking about, and we had some text surveys that went out. Maybe some of you folks got them and responded to them and asked essentially, do you support the funds to build a public health care facility in Council Bluffs? Not surprisingly, an overwhelming number of the folks in the rural area, 70%, opposed it in Council Bluffs. There's a real need. And if you go to these supervisor meetings, you'll see that they're even trying to expand their veteran services out to rural areas. They're planning on some new veteran services out in Avoca. So there's a very real need. It's probably being missed. In Council Bluffs proper, about 60% of those folks supported it. So out of Oakland specifically, somebody, it's one of your neighbors here in Oakland said they thought the facility was probably a good idea, but that it should be located in the center or a more central location in the county. And that's a fair comment. And that's something that, again, we want to make sure gets heard to the supervisors and the folks that are making those decisions. Regarding the ski hill, for both the rural and the urban residents, the response was universally not terribly positive. It was over 80% of both of those residents didn't support the ski hill purchase. That's kind of another thing. We're here to focus on the next era of this and making sure that it gets focused in the right direction. So that's all I have to share here, and I'm happy to provide anybody who has any questions on that. Afterwards, just tag me. But for now, I'm going to turn this over to Shauna Anderson, who's going to share a little bit more. Oakland resident Shauna Anderson.
Yay! Thank you, Fran.
Okay, so I have a salon in Council Bluffs. I'm going to try and keep this short because we're really here to hear from you guys what your ideas and what your needs are. So I have a salon in Council Bluffs, so obviously I had to shut down with COVID. And during that 8-week shutdown, I volunteered over in Macedonia for their Meals on Wheels program and delivered meals to the community. So the first thing I did was try to figure out how to focus on the community. In doing this work with United Today, Stronger Tomorrow, I called a lot of the cities within Pottawattamie County and asked them, what are your needs and what were you asked by the Board of Supervisors? Some of the things I heard about was Carson's planning on buying a new ambulance. They're using their city COVID funding to pay for about half of it. The other half is most likely going to have to be raising property taxes to be able to pay for the other half of it. Out of $9 million, if the county supervisors were to listen to that conversation, they would be able to give them a small portion of that and stop property taxes from being raised. I have friends and people that I love very much that are members of the Riverside School District staff. And my daughter is 26 years old. My son is 21, and he graduated in 2019. Even when they were both in the middle school building at the time, which is now the intermediate building in Carson, the leaks and water issues in the floor and just water everywhere was insane. After hearing the other day, they literally have a classroom with black carpet because of the mold. I can tell you that the Board of Supervisors needs to hear that and needs to hear hey, maybe this is where some of these COVID dollars can go. We're putting our teachers and our paras and our educators and our children in a room where they're breathing mold every day. But, they aren't here to hear those stories. So, there are a lot of things that I learned, like I said, in making these phone calls. I am a huge proponent of sitting down, having conversations, meeting people where they're at, and finding out what's going on in your life, because I don't know of all the needs. it's amazing what I heard when having these conversations. And so I'm super glad to be able to be a part of this, to be able to bring people in and have conversations about what's needed, and maybe, you know, I'm hopeful that you all will have ideas that maybe we haven't heard of. And we're taking notes and we'll be taking it back to the board. I will, this isn't really supposed to be my portion, but I will include that Tuesday I did sit through one of the almost longest Board of Supervisors meeting that probably was on record. I saw you there. And they are now taking public comment, which they limit to 2 minutes. And I use my 2 minutes to remind them that they sit in those chairs to serve us, and that I know how important it would be to them to hear from the people that voted for them and to hear from the people that they serve. So I was literally asking, begged them to show up. I'm not surprised, but I am very disappointed. And you know, like I said, that wasn't supposed to be part of my speaking here, but I just want you all to know that they were literally begged on Tuesday to show up, and that was after invites with more than enough notice. So with that, I would like to step out of the way and invite some of you all to take your turn, come up here, talk about like maybe what you've seen. Do you need some help with home health care? Do you need help with child care? Do you need, you know, infrastructure things? What is it that you think these dollars could be best used for in our community in Pottawattamie County? So I encourage somebody to please come up. Thank you. I know y'all have thoughts.
While you guys are getting up the courage, I'm going to go ahead and pass out this handout. This is, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong here, this is the U.S. Treasury portion that Pottawattamie County turned in. These are different topics that ARPA funds could be spent on. It's a little bit small. The green is the different types of categories, and then the white actually has some specific suggestions that could be used for the ARPA funds.
So these are the buckets.
Yep, these are the buckets that it could be used for.
Okay. Thanks,
Do
Now that document is old, that's the most recent
Not
one from the Treasury, and that was from 2021, but that'll give you an idea of where the money can be used other than where it's been used already.
Hi, I'm Linnea White from Trainer. My biggest concern after listening to all the news for this past couple of years is it seems in general that the small businesses have been hurt the worst. Just day after day, week after week, month after month, I heard about small businesses that couldn't survive. No problem with national chains. They could devise, you know, and shift money and shift staff and so forth. So I feel very strongly that small businesses that have closed, like beauty salons, small restaurants, they're the strongest part of, or they usually are the strongest part of our economy, and they've been hurt the worst. So I don't have a dog in the fight in the sense that I don't have a restaurant or didn't have one at any point. But that's just my consideration. That's why I came tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nobody else is I'll start calling y'all.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about mine.
My name is Lauren Luke. I live in rural Hancock, and I sure came here to listen more than speak. It looks to me like the federal funds that were sent out all over the country hit pretty good if you were big business.
Yep.
And they hit pretty good if you were well organized. And I think about my daughter, who had a yoga studio opened up, full-time job, working pretty well too. She had signed a contract for a year's worth of rent for her facility, and when they were mandatorily shut down, she didn't have any problem with that. I mean, that was the first thing she wanted to do too. She said, you know, we're all about good health. That's the last thing we want to do is have a place where people are going to catch COVID. But she still had the contract for $830 a month. And her landlord expected her to live up to it, and she did. She had been in business since the previous August, and and she hadn't been in business long enough to qualify for the federal funds that were out there. So she ate it. She ate $5,000 and some dollars because make a deal, you gotta live up to it, and she did. I think of all the people, I was almost embarrassed to go to bomb growers or to a grocery store or anything else to get something when the COVID was at its worst. I felt so bad for the people that worked there. They had to come to work. If they didn't come to work, they couldn't draw on the plane. And they had to take care of their home as best they could. And they were in harm's way a whole lot more than the most of us. I know I was able to quarantine pretty easily. I'm a farmer. And I don't know how they're going to get it done. It sounds fairly complicated to me. How do you reimburse somebody like my daughter? Well, I don't think it's probably going to happen. But it looked to me like that was a place the money should go. The checkout clerk at the supermarket, you know, they got cut way short on this deal. And they were the first to catch the disease. And I don't know just how we're going to go about it. And it looks to me like we're not really careful. I'm not sure that we have got the ability through just of our county to separate that all out. I'm not sure if that's even possible, but I'd sure like to see something done for the people who had to go. They had to go to work, and they put themselves and their families in harm's way. I'd sure be interested in what anybody else has to say about it. And thank you.
Thank you.
And I will say direct payments to frontline workers is an option that ARPA funds could be used for, right? So anybody who is a frontline worker, grocery store, hospital workers, teachers, those are all options. Frontline workers have that ability to be paid out of the ARPA funds.
Good evening, my name is Ramon Calzada. I don't live in Oakland, but I work here. I'm the Executive Director for Central Latino Iowa, and we work with communities, especially Latino immigrant communities that are coming to Iowa because of the needed workforce. So one of my jobs is to help those communities get integrated socially, culturally, but also get integrated like all of you and like all of your ancestors about economic opportunity and to grow. You know, as any immigrant groups come to this country, you know, to grow in the economy and be part of it and also contribute back to the economy. So they were also affected, as you all know, by COVID, like all the workers. So we have those two areas, the workforce, but we also have the small business community that we have a Mexican restaurant, you know, off the street, you know, that was also affected, restaurant businesses. And we try to provide, you know, like the PPP loans, how to help them apply for it, and also for more capacity training for education. So we're advocating for those funds for the workforce, for training for the workforce. You know, if you lost your job or your company closed, etc., how can we retrain? The big thing right now is what we call the digital literacy training for our workforce. Especially learning this new language, this new way of working that happened with COVID because of the whole situation from working from home. So there are a lot of jobs now, they're high demand jobs, high paying jobs. You know, they start at $60,000 a year or $80,000 a year. And you can earn that by being retrained again, and especially earning a professional certificate on some sort of career on the digital world, like IT support, project management, data analysis. So recently, you know, we just got a huge grant from Google. We got a grant for almost 1,000 scholarships to provide to our workforce. And it's going to be all in Spanish. The training programs to help our migrant workers to become data analysts, our meat packers to become the product managers, and provide us economic opportunity. So we ask for the ARPA funds, to provide this opportunity for all. So we don't have to go to the private businesses. This is our tax-paying money, this is our money, and that we want to go back to our community, and especially those who were affected economically, so they can get back on track and support their families. And that's what we want you to gather and really speak up and tell the people that you elected, who represent you, that's my money. And I want to bring it back here to Oakland. I go to downtown Oakland, what do you see? Death, right? That should be a lot of businesses. Local people, their flower shop, the delivery guy, the cleaning home business, the people that are working child care centers, That's the money that you guys have to tell the supervisors, that's ours. What's the percentage? In the community right now, the Latino population, we're almost 10% of the population. And I always tell them, because I always challenge them, whenever I have the opportunity, we are talking about equity now. It's not about equal access, now it's equitable distribution. So if we have representing all the different communities, the communities in Oakland, the communities in Boca, the communities in Macedonia, that's community, but we also have the workforce community that are working in this, for example, at West Side. As you know, there are 800 jobs there, and they can only fill 500 jobs. So what's going to happen with West Side? If they can't fill 300 more jobs, where are they going to go? Oakland. You're going to lose them. They're about this close to lose. I have long meetings with them, and the big issue in Oakland is housing. So that's another money we can ask here to create affordable, quality housing, but workforce. A starter home. So right now, all these people that are coming to this town are commuting. Imagine you're driving every day, 45 minutes from Casablanca to Omaha to have a job, because there's an economic opportunity. At least I know I'm going to have a job in West Side. But what's going to happen after a month, 2 months, then the snow comes in, who's going to drive? Who's going to drive? I've been for 3 years now asking, when are we going to build affordable housing, to these families, that they can stay here, also create community, and also to invest in your community. Not just have one Mexican restaurant. Everybody goes there. I want to go there. We need more, so he has competition. America is about capitalism, right? It's about competition. If not, it's going to be expensive. I had the same problem in Casablanca. We only have one Latino market. I had the most expensive chicken in the whole town. I said, dude, when are you going to lower the prices? Well, why? I'm the only one here. They all buy from me. After COVID, yeah, I'm going to raise. So all my people over there said, Ramon, when are you going to give us some gift cards from Aldi's? They have better chicken. So he's making the money. Again, because they're the only ones. We need competition, fair competition, and that we want you to do there. Oakland, to really speak up and come up, to one of those supervisor meetings. They meet every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And he said, we in Oakland, we need childcare. We in Oakland, we need business recovery for our small businesses in our town. How much of that is going to come to us? Don't tell them I'm waiting for them. No, how much of that is coming to us? This is our tax money that we pay. Bring it back to our town. Don't sit down and wait. It's time now. You already spent the money. Now you don't have a ski resort around here that you can enjoy from and really enjoy the tourism out of that in Oakland. But yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of needs. This is a one-time funding. That this is the only chance we're going to get. Please don't miss out. And thank you for supporting the immigrant community here. And hopefully, if we work on the housing, maybe they'll be your neighbors. And they can be part of this community as well. Thank you.
few minutes here, he hit on 7 different things that ARPA funds could be used for, right? So, small business economy assistance, aid to nonprofits, tourism travel to help bring back, build businesses downtown, academic services, childcare, affordable housing, just in a few minutes of just talking about what's needed here in the community. All of them are on this list of what ARPA funds could be used for.
Hi, my name is Lori Bliss, and I want to follow up what Ramon said somewhat about housing and fold that in with what our teachers are going through. We are losing our teachers at a crisis rate right now. My daughter has been a 30-year teacher. She's a specialist in early childhood, and she has quit her job 5 years from retirement to take a different job because the classroom has become so hostile. This folds into poverty. This folds in to housing. Not having a stable place to live is affecting every student she's got. And we've got to do something to retain our teachers. We need to pay them properly. But how about a little housing? How about, let's see, we put our artists in a nice old refurbished building. How about we put some teachers coming into our communities in affordable housing where they can collaborate, where they're safe, and pay them what they're worth. Our teachers are dying here, and we do need to get that turned around, or the kids at the supermarket that bag our groceries, the ones that walk around in the same park. Or I had a friend tell me about down her alley, it smells pissy. These kids need to be in school. They need to want to be in school. It's a matter of where they live and whether they've got the resources backing them up, both at home and in school. The teachers need to be paid, and the teachers need a home.
Sorry. And again, housing assistance for rent, mortgage, utility aid, aid to high poverty districts for educational assistance, social emotional learning, mental health services for education services. All things that are available that our supervisors have not deemed to give any money towards as of now.
Hi everybody, my name is John Springhauer. I'm a farmer, I'm an insurance agent, I'm on city council in McClellan, and I'm a candidate for supervisor. I want first to thank everybody for coming out, because this is what we need, dialogue. The dialogue is what we need, talking about things where money should be spent. That's what we need in this county, and everybody has hit on fantastic topics. There's so many ways this money can be spent, and small businesses did get hurt the worst, but the one important thing I think that gets missed, and I've heard this, and I don't like bringing up the ski hill, but one thing I heard somebody say, and they were part of the transaction, was, well, the best part was that it wasn't our money. And to me, that's the biggest lie there is, because whether it's our money from the county or it's our money from federal dollars, that's our money, that's our tax dollars. And so when you look at this as free money, that means there's no accountability. And to me, I think that's the biggest problem, is there's no accountability when it comes to our elected officials and the way they spend our money. So things like this, I think, are absolutely fantastic. We have people from every genre, every different side of everything, and we're coming together and we're having dialogue, and this is what we need. And I think that you all have great ideas. I think the small business, I think the housing, I think all of that is a fantastic thing, and that's what we need to work on to move everything forward. We need to focus on the future, and what we can do to be more efficient together, and what we can do to stick together and hold each other accountable for things. So I appreciate everything, and I love the comments, and I want everybody to be involved. So I'm shaking right now. I don't like talking in front of people. It's not fun, but this is what we need. So I encourage you, come up here, talk, give your ideas. We want to hear everything you have to say. And from here on, continue to be involved. Because the only way you're going to make a difference is if you continue to be involved. Because when we become complacent, that's where we get in the position that we are right now. And we can no longer be complacent. That doesn't work for us. So Thanks for your time.
And if you're not comfortable speaking at the podium, you can stay seated. We won't make you go up in front of everybody.
I just want to reiterate something John just said, and John and I come from different parts of the political spectrum here, but we get along, we understand the importance of this. This information, everything you share here, I'm scratching away, this is all going to get collected. This is all going to be brought to the Board of Supervisors. So it's not just a come here and vent thing, it's going to be, we're carrying your message forward. I want you to know you have our commitment on that.
Thank you. I'll attend to those meetings and sit through 3 hours before I get my 2 minutes to speak. And I'll read these things to them every Tuesday if I have to. I'm not kidding.
Could I speak sitting down?
Yes.
Please do, Dixie.
My name is Dixie Turvey. I'm from Council Bluffs, but I grew up in Pleasant Township, which does not have a town. At that time, Avoca was my county seat, and of course Avoca is no longer half of the county seat. But because of where I grew up, it surprises me that when a county this big has money to spend, they don't think about things like computers out in the country so that country kids can have the same opportunities that town kids do. And what about there are still roads that are country roads. They don't have gravel on them, they don't have pavement on them, they're just dirt roads. What about those bridges? What about what do you call those round metal things that they put under the road? Culverts. Some of that money should go for something like that because this is a rural county. And if you went by percentage, not necessarily of population, but of area, we're not getting our fair share. I mean, yes, I live in Council Bluffs, but as far as I'm concerned, Pleasant Township is home. And we have, like I said, bad bridges, we have bad roads, we have bad water. Nobody seems to care that has any money to spend. So I think that, that's something else that the Board of Supervisors should be called up to. Thank you.
Thank you, and Dixie again made some great points, right? Broadband, water, all that kind of stuff, right? That's all part of the availability to spend the ARPA money on. I'm going to segue just a little bit. We're going to have some more public participation here in just a second, but I think you see a couple people taking some big notes and writing some stuff down. Sean is ready to take everything back for us. We would like to move to actually a public participation survey, right? So if you're not comfortable standing up and speaking, we have an option that my friend Jen here is going to help. Jen Pelham's going to help move around. There's a QR code that you can scan if you're tech savvy, and it'll bring up the survey, or we have a paper copy that you can fill out and leave with me at the end of the night. We're going to gather all that information back, and Sean has graciously agreed to take all the information back and say, hey,
I will run my mouth all day, I promise.
Room full of people out of Oakland, and this is what they want, and this is what they, options for. So again, I know that print was a little bit small, but it's going to give you guys some options for you to be able to go through and either tech savvy or the paper. If you're going to do the paper, I just ask that you leave it here tonight. If you're doing the QR code, you can scan it, do it at home tonight, think about it, whatever the case may be, share it with friends. Anything you want out there to get the survey out.
You got it. Let's do it. Come on, you speak to third
I
grade
don't
all
speak
day
in
long.
front of people all day
All day
long.
long.
That's not what I do.
All day long.
They're not people.
You yell at them.
They're aliens.
Yeah, true. Come on, you got
And
it.
while Jen's messing that out, thanks Lisa for grabbing some pens. I'm just gonna make a plug because there's no way I'm taking like 30 cookies home. There's some scones, some
Destination Coffee brought coffee. Thank them. I want to let you all know that was really great of them. They donated some coffee for this evening, so. Grant's got it right over here.
Do you want the paper survey or the? Yeah, I don't want to scan anything. That's okay? I'll find it.
I can't figure it out.
Get rid of them.
Hey, I scanned the code. You did? No, you just scanned it? Yep, you just scanned the code.
There you go.
Wow, that's awesome. Isn't that groovy? Yeah. New World Order stuff. The Panopticon.
I went over there and I was like, where's the cookies? I was taking them around.
Need to get that money to this town.
No, I will, just, nobody else is speaking right now, and it was just brought to my attention, I kind of forgot. We did also invite, the Oakland City Council and the mayor.
Oh, it's a meat packing.
And so if, you were curious if they were invited, they were as well.
Well,
So.
Did you smell that cow?
We invited all.
Did you
Yes,
smell it?
all community leaders, all, yes.
during the
So,
pandemic.
thank you. Good looking. I thought, the mayor said it was going to be here.
Is that from my workers? Well, they were dying. That was the problem. Nobody told them what was going on. And Iowa is still one of these states that still have that English only. They don't have to translate. They just told them. They don't have to translate. Iowa's one of these states that's still like your famous king died. They don't have, by law, they don't have. You have to pay federal funds and county funds, state funds. You don't have to spend.
If anybody needs help with their survey, go ahead and raise their hand.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Is everybody good?
To eliminate that.
Everybody's good? Perfect. Alright. You like it?
Oh, that's the one thing.
Yay, Ramon, thank you.
My name is Jeff Shudak. I am the president of the Western Iowa Labor Federation, which I said earlier represents 36 counties in Western Iowa, over 10,000 union members. I'm also a candidate for the Board of Supervisors, and I'm disappointed I truly am disappointed they're not here. Well, putting time to listen to me talk about my candidacy some other day, but I'm here to talk about, I'm not from Oakland, but like I said, I do represent a whole bunch of workers, and I know the dire need for what I call worker housing or affordable housing. So I'm going to piggyback on that. I'm also going to piggyback on other things I hear all the time, which is also bonuses, frontline worker bonuses. This was something really easy, guys, like I've echoed from from some of the other people. These are the people that were there making our coffee in the morning, making our donuts in the morning, the people that had they couldn't call in sick, there was no unemployment. So I just wanted to get up and speak on behalf of the workers and hold these guys accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Would anyone else like to get up and speak? Oh, there we go.
Hello, my name is Corey Swotek. I am 30 years old. I've been in this community for 24 years of my life. When I left in 2012, it was a beautiful town to be in. I came back to be a teacher after working at a grocery store during COVID, which was miserable. Why I left? Because it was brutal. It was not fun. And so I decided to go into teaching. It's still brutal. It's a little bit more fun, I will say that though. Bear with me, I don't talk in front of people all day. I know they're kids, they're not the same. So,
they're worse.
I teach 3rd grade in Carson. The first thing I want to kind of chat about is the building. Like, our building's falling apart. Our roof tiles have mold on them, our foundation is cracked. It's really interesting when I can walk through the new part of the building and I can see the outside. That's fun. Fun fact, that was there 15 years ago when I was there in middle school. The windows in my first classroom last year, I had to tape pretty much a shower curtain to it, so when it rained, I could get the window wet and not all of my supplies. Last time I checked, yes, I know windows are expensive, but it's not that much to put caulk around a window, right? As for the few people before me have said about teachers, you are 100% right. It is tough, we are miserable, and it is hard. I have 27 3rd graders in my classroom this year. That is because we could not hire a 3rd position. That is a jump from 16 last year. As a 2nd-year teacher, that's tough. And I know that the kids their maturity level is not where they used to be due to COVID. So me in 3rd grade, I am teaching 1st graders, essentially, when it comes to behaviors. I can also tell you that with our last board meeting and the survey that went out to our high school and not any of the elementary buildings in our district, the survey asked how many people were looking to stay in the district or get out of teaching. And out of the entire building, 9 teachers marked that they were looking to get out. I'll let that sink in. Because when our schools die, our communities die.
So much truth.
As a 1st-year teacher in our district, I make $33,000 according to my master contract. Thankfully, the government gives me an extra $5,000, so I make $39,500 a year. I can't buy a house because the one house that I looked at that was a dumpster fire was $180,000. Doesn't make me feel pretty good. Whatever. Took a lot of scratch notes, sorry. As for another teacher thing, kindergarten this year has, I believe, 24 kids in a classroom, and that's with 2 teachers and 1 parent each. I don't know if you've ever been around a kindergarten before, but that's not enough. They are wild animals sometimes. We love them, but they can be crazy. Next year, if we do not get another teacher to have a 3rd option, there's going to be 29 kids in a classroom. We have been begging for teachers, we've been begging for parents, and nobody wants the job because we don't make enough, we don't get enough support. Our buildings are wrecked, and it's not looking any better. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, I lied. My wife wanted me to say one more thing. She scribbled down super fast because she's a dental hygienist and she's all about the public health. that they are building the public health center in Council Bluffs, correct? Is that what I heard?
That is correct.
Okay. Since they are doing that and they didn't care about us rural people, it would not cost that much to make a mobile unit to be able to go out and hit the smaller communities. That would take nothing.
I apologize for being late. I am Dr. Glenn Hurst. I am a physician over in Minden, Iowa. I'm on the city council in Minden, Iowa. I'm a U.S. Senate candidate for the state of Iowa, but I'm going to put on the hat right now of medical director of the Oakland Manor. Are most folks from Oakland here today? Can I get kind of a general moan or cheer, depending on your opinion about the Oakland Manor? Yeah, understandable. Oakland Manor is the only rural nursing home. I think Avoca's technically is also still in the county as well, but really just right on the edge of it. They serve Harlan and Shelby County much more. But Oakland is the only nursing home, rural nursing home in this county, and they struggle. They struggle desperately. As the medical director, I'm just a contractor. I don't have any direct. I don't get to hire or fire anybody. But I do oversee what happens medically in that community, and it's been devastating to see what happened to that facility as COVID ran through it. It was a community that was caught completely unprepared for the crisis. They had tested one day and had no cases, and then they tested 2 weeks later, as they were told to do during that early time period, and they had 20 cases. And by that time, there's no stopping it, and it overwhelmed the facility. It also overwhelmed the staff. And we had staff members that were working 24-hour shifts, that were CNAs, and CNAs are certified nursing assistants. They have about a 6-week course of education in healthcare. They are not fully trained nurses and medical providers. Most often, you can graduate from high school now with a CNA. Okay? So these are high school students that were providing the most personal and desperate cares of our family members and getting paid under a living wage to do so. They could have worked at Dairy Queen and probably made more. And they were being asked to take care of the very lives of the people that we love. They were the only people that the people we loved were able to have contact with. That facility is not new. It's got a roof that has fallen in on occasion. It has had the need for major remodels in food service. Rural communities are really difficult places to find healthcare workers that are going to make a career out of healthcare work. And after a very short period of time of running through everybody who possibly could be a CNA from Oakland, there just aren't many people left to be CNAs at the dollar amount that they're able to pay. So they brought in agency nursing, which is people that they paid from the East Coast to come here and work for a certain number of months at an exorbitant price, that don't know our patients. I'm the guy that gets the phone calls in the middle of the night about, Mrs. Jones fell to the floor, Mr. Johnson has a terrible cough, so-and-so has been confused for 3 days. And these staff members have no knowledge about these patients. They don't know what they're normally like. And your local fire department, your volunteer fire department, is getting really tired of multiple calls in the middle of the night to come pick up a patient that the staff doesn't know and deliver them to the hospital in Council Bluffs, and then deliver them back that same night because there was nothing that needed done. And now we're seeing problems where local volunteer forces in Oakland, in Carson, in Macedonia, even as far away as Minden, dread the 482 number when it comes up on their phone, because they know it's going to be a drive as a volunteer in the middle of the night. try to take care of a patient, which they want to do, but a patient that really isn't getting the care that they need. I would very much support seeing us put money towards, like the mobile public health unit would be a great tool for our community, but to bolster those salaries and be able to hire people that are going to come and stay and get to know our patients. I would gladly see money put towards shoring up that facility. Look, this is this is a room that has a few people that look like they might retire someday. And I imagine you see not you, Dixie, you're going to continue working. I imagine you would like to stay in the communities that you built, right? And if we don't take care of our nursing homes and our nursing facility, it is not going to be there to provide the skilled care you might need if you break a hip or a leg and need rehab and go back home, or if, God forbid, you need long-term nursing care on a 24-hour basis. That's just not going to be here if we don't get behind that facility and try to help them succeed. And I don't defend a lot of big business healthcare. I tend to think that it's much better when you're in an independent position, when you're independent, when you're not beholden to a bigger group. They are part of the MGM group, and I do believe that MGM really is working very hard to try to shore up that facility. But this would be an ideal community for us to be investing money from the county level into that facility. That facility serves this county, and it serves it well when we give it the tools it needs. So I would just encourage people to think about that and make sure that you find a way to get the ear of the people who are directing that money to take care of your community and the people in your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst, and that actually ties into our last agenda item here as we have our closing remarks. So, I grew up working class, patches on patches, poor up in Northeast Iowa. I didn't go to any fancy college. I didn't go to college in general, actually. If we're being honest, I barely made it through high school. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that everybody in this room is in solidarity about one thing, and that's we love our communities. We love our rural communities, and we want them to prosper and thrive. So with that, I want to say thank you all for taking the survey. He said, what do we do to get their ear? I want to just take a couple minutes. I have two requests. One request is I'd like you all to get for a picture behind this empty table. I think that'd be pretty groovy, if you don't mind, before we leave. The second thing that I'd like to hear some ideas on next steps. You can just shout them out. What do we do? Because like I said, we've been at their board meetings. We actually, I would say that our coalition can claim that we won public comments on that board meeting. Every Tuesday, 10 o'clock, you guys can go down there. For 30 minutes at the end, they're allowing public comment now. They said as much that it was because they've been receiving requests to get on the agenda from members of our coalition that they say did not fit the criteria, so they opened public comment. So that's available now. We can go talk to them there. We've sent them over 100 letters. We've had a press conference. We're having this meeting. What are some ideas on how to get those supervisors in front of you over here on this eastern side of the county? Anybody got any ideas?
Throw a fundraiser for them.
Does it kick them out? Ryan said throw a fundraiser for them.
Get the people to go out and vote.
People
It
go out and
doesn't do
vote.
any good to complain if they don't go vote.
Yes, ma'am.
These people promised to have meetings in our rural communities 4 years ago when they all ran for office. I know because I ran against them. And I haven't seen a rural meeting yet.
Well, you've seen one now, Glenn. And I'm going to be here for a long time in the future. I ain't going anywhere. We got infrastructure. We got another $5 billion coming into this state in the next couple of months. And there's about 5 years of organizing potential around
And
that.
keep everything that we're collecting public.
Yes,
Not
absolutely.
just for them, but for everybody here.
Absolutely. Our survey that Fran read off was published in KMA land. It was also sent to the Board of Supervisors. All the y'all surveys that you're putting out, that's going to the board, that's going to the media. Full transparency here, all the way around. What are some other ideas to get those board members in those seats in front of y'all? You got something to say? Go for it, Jen.
Well, I have another ask for you guys. My name is Jen Pellens, and I am spearheading a petition to try and hold a special election to suggest the possibility that we can district our county. You guys you probably know we're the second largest county in the state of Iowa, and yet all of our supervisors are elected at large. They can live anywhere in the county. All 5 of them can live on the same street if they wanted to. And once Supervisor Groby retires, there's no guarantee that we get another rural representative in the next round. So if you would like to sign this petition, it's just, again, there's 2 ways to decide. By Iowa code, there's 2 ways to decide how your county elects its representatives. Either the board gets to decide for themselves, sounds pretty undemocratic, right? Or we get to decide. And that's all this petition is to say, we want a special election so that we get to decide how our supervisors are elected. Whether they have to live in a particular district, a particular part of the county, or whether they can all just be elected at large and they can all live on the western edge of the county, or whether we have districts and the people of the district get to elect their own representative. That's the plan that I think is the most democratic. You don't have to agree with me about that, but I still think that those of us in this county should get to decide how our supervisors are elected. So if you agree with that, I would love it if you would sign this petition on your way out the door tonight, because the only way that we can do this is to get 4,500 signatures. 4,500 signatures across the county to call for a special election in 2023. So again, I'll leave this right
I
here.
have a pen here that would love to write
But yes, please, if you can sign that on your way out the door. Again, it's just another voice for us to say that how we want our supervisors to be elected.
You know, I wasn't going to speak tonight, and for several reasons, because I'm intimately involved with a lot of the ARPA and the ARPA rules. But one of the things you asked for suggestions, and I'm just taking it as a citizen, just call me Citizen Mike from training. I arrived in 2020, and there's a lot of things and ways you can get done in the public process. I am a public servant. You know, you talk about the Board of Supervisors. I don't like the fact that they're not here and they'll hear this voice, and I try to hold them accountable. If you were at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, you'll know that I tried to hold them accountable, so I'm not holding anything back. But I want you to remember that they are people, and I want you to remember the Board of Supervisors, especially the ones that are running for Board of Supervisors. You may be in that seat. And guess what? The hat may change a little bit. When I arrived in March of 2020, if anybody remembers that month, within 1 week, shut down the office. Within 1 week to 2 weeks, most of you felt that impact of what the initial surge of COVID could do. The very first person that reached out was a Board of Supervisors. And that was Lynn. Lynn Groby reached out and came over to the office. I highly respected that. Public servant, one. Second one was to bring in the big COVID hand sanitizer push. Remember that? Everybody, all the hand sanitizers were gone. Nobody had hand sanitizer. Couldn't find it in the local supermarkets, let alone toilet paper. The second Board of Supervisor, Tim Wickman, showed up with cases of the hand sanitizer for people to have. That was for free. So that's a Board of Supervisor. Then came the dreaded COVID shots. Everybody remembers them, don't they? Especially the elder, when you got your chance to get those wonderful shots that made you sick for days, including me. So I went to the center in Council Bluffs. Not familiar with the area. This is all new to me. Guess who I met at the door? Scott Belt, at the very beginning of the door, along with Lynn Groby, sitting in a chair, trying to bring people in to help them in any way they could to get their shot. These aren't perfect people. The ARPA rules, I'm not saying everything here. I'm here because I want to listen and you are correct for all your needs. Use your conduits that are there, and you have to use them. Those when you say, what ideas are there? You can't throw this ARPA funding stream just at schools. Can't happen. Do I want that mold off your carpets and things like that, or wherever this is at? Absolutely. That's atrocious. I have a daughter that's a teacher who is going to mental therapy because of this. I have a daughter-in-law who's about ready to get out. She's only been in 2 years, and she's already to get out because she can't handle it in the Omaha-Millard School District. I have a son who is in the National Guard who has been put down in El Paso because of the atmosphere that's going on with the border and all the politics. Did everybody forget that during the COVID whole process, we also had a political warfare in 2020 going on? So I have a son that is now stationed in El Paso that is away from his newborn child and his wife for a year. I have a little bit of bitterness towards that, but we will get through it for the year. I have another son who remembers the riots that occurred during the COVID 2020 in Minneapolis and then in Omaha, who was sent to the Omaha front to try to watch over this. All of these things culminated in what we're trying to survive here and get through. Somebody said this is the new normal. It's not the new normal. This is now the normal that we have to try to figure out to make it work. The question I have for you that you need to bring back to the Board of Supervisors, coming from Citizen Mike, because they'll know exactly who it is when they see the tape, is you say there's $9 million. I was there. I know that they're trying to work with the communities to give out money to help the cities who they have surveyed to talk about needs to do things with, but I have been told it is $1 to $2 million. So if you want a question to bring out to the Board of Supervisors is if $9 million is truly the case, and I actually do know some of the ARPA funding, I'd like to know those numbers too, because I know where the stream is coming from. The federal government will probably be lucky if they get it to them in June or July, but May's close enough. It's coming. They're going to get this second stream of money. $1 to $2 million to the cities, rural communities, Council Bluffs not included. So the rural communities, there's 13 of them that they want to spread this money. You say there's 9, they say there's 2. The question you should be asking is where's the other $7 million? That's the question you should be asking, and there may be a real easy answer. The other one is, who do you give it to? You talk about who you want these to go for. I'm with you. I'm an activist myself, and I want to see, I'm a public servant, I want to see the best for the citizens of Southwest Iowa, let alone Trainer. And we're sitting there talking about, how do you want this to go into? Who is going to take it? You say you want it for public health care? I'm all for that. Who? Who is that conduit that they're going to give it out to? They can't just give this money to little strings and pockets because they're not capable of sitting there. This is a big, large project, a one-time thing that they'll never see again. And I guarantee you the federal government, unless there's something really wild that goes on and they start creating more money for another reason, this is the last round of the ARPA funding. So, how does it get there? Who is the conduit? How do you get it out to these folks? It's not, you can't just give it to the salon. I would love to just give you.
Oh, no.
But you should get that. But who is that conduit that's going to give it to you? It's not going to be the County Board of Supervisors. They got to find a way.
If I had a conversation with the board, that would not be where I suggest it went, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like my work in this, where I think the money should go, really has nothing to do with my work in this.
I think
my work in this has to do with making sure that the public in the community that we're serving, that are being served, have their voices heard.
So they know. And that's why you have this meeting. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
You have public health, you have all these places to go, and I agree with you. I say make it happen, try to find out the way to make it happen, and they're going to see the tape, they're going to hear everybody's opinion. I'm just saying, when you do this, kindness, civility, which is my word, by the way, civil discourse, civil behavior, along with being part of the civic organization, working with them is going to get you a lot further in asking the hard questions of like, where is this money? How much is it really going to be? And who are the ones that are going to do it? Because they're, as you know, you were at the Board of Supervisors, you need to hold accountable the ones that the county board is now brought in to make these decisions, which are these wonderful folks that we love dearly, Iowa West Foundation, Advance Southwest Iowa, and all of these groups are out there. They are the groups you need to turn to and talk to a little bit about. They're the ones giving the suggestions.
They're giving the suggestions though.
And right now,
I'm just going to stop because otherwise I'm going to get into my own personal opinion there, and I'm just going to not do that
yeah,
right here.
I may be not that far
So,
off.
yeah.
I may be with you on that.
Yeah. Nope. No, I mean, because we did, I don't know how long you were there on Tuesday, but they did, you were there through the McClure presentation though, weren't you?
Very much so.
Okay, so yeah, you saw what they were looking at for sewage and all of those things and those numbers. Yeah, you know, which is great, but I know from my understanding of that presentation, that wasn't just ARPA funds. It was ARPA funds, infrastructure money, and grants.
No.
So, in fact, because Schultz even said something though about there are plenty of ways to work to get most of this paid for via grants.
But that was not the point. No, that was not about grant money. That is where you need to be vocal, is because they talked about, okay, we can use grant money. That isn't what you want. You have an ARPA stream. That's the money you want to talk about being utilized. The grants, that
yes.
grant
No, that's what we're here to talk about, yes.
Right. So
I do want to cut in here because we have about 5 minutes left before we intend to get out of here. But before I do, Mike, do you have any suggestion on how we do have that conversation?
I think it's one-on-one time. If you do anything with, you're from Northeast Iowa?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm from Dubuque. My wife's from Dubuque.
I'll be driving down here 3 more times in the next 2 weeks.
I love the land.
So no suggestions on how to get the board here, just one-on-one conversations,
I would say
public input that's
one-on-one.
not recorded at the Board of Supervisors meetings. Got it, okay. All right, with that, anyone have any other last questions? Otherwise, I'd love to get a photo of you back here before we head out. And like Jen said, if you would like to sign that document that she shared.
Petition for special election.
Petition for special election, that's right.
I would like to also let everybody know that we are doing this again in Avoca on Tuesday. So
yes.
if you'd like to attend again, or if somebody you know that couldn't make it here, or if, you know, you go home and you're like, you know what, that went really well. This was really, you know, informative and it felt good to talk about these things. Let your neighbors know that we'll be doing this again in Avoca on Tuesday. And then what is it, Wednesday the 4th?
Yes, I'll leave the
So-
two papers right here if anybody wants to take a peek at it. We've got the Avoca Town Hall, and that'll be at the American Legion Hall. We've already got that booked. And then we'll have Council Bluffs, that'll be May 4th, both at 7 p.m. so working class folks can get to it, not in the morning. That one will be at the Public Library, Room B. Refreshments at both of them again. And, do we thank?
Yes, Destination Coffee.
Yes, Destination Coffee donated coffee for this event, so that's fantastic. Remember the name.
That's a small business too, correct?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Small local business,
Here,
absolutely.
Destination Coffee and Cuisine.
So if you had these to turn in, if you did a paper one, I'd love to get those from you. So if you can just go ahead and leave them up here on the podium. As we get up and head out, if we can head over here for a picture, I think that would be wonderful. I'll also leave some of my cards here on the podium. Feel free to grab my card and call me. It's got my cell phone and my email on it. You can hold me 24/7. I'm
Hey Glenn, how you doing? I'm good, how are you doing? You're running the next one, right? Yeah. I see that right? No. I saw that.
I think I wore my Iowa shirt.
People to vote for me.
It's right.
Hey, thank you, congratulations.
But that was an excellent point. No, thank you.
What part of Northeast Iowa?
Fayette County, born and raised. Dave Bishop. Nice to meet you.
I'm going back up in that area. I lived 12 years up in there. Where at? Right in Keene.
Beautiful, beautiful city.
So, you know, we're always going up to Strawberry Hill. We're always going up in the...
My family's from Strawberry.
So, you know.
Oh, yeah, my grandpa owned the pizza back in the day.
Yep, no, well, so...
Yeah, beautiful.
I gotta go have my Mississippi winery. All the wineries all around there.
Oh, yeah, empty. All right, everybody that wants to be, oh, you guys, we'll wait for you, absolutely. If anybody needs a chair, we're gonna, these ladies would like to join us, so we're just gonna give them a moment.
You're looking pretty good up front there, Pat.
I think you're overestimating my knee strength. Get a couple before you figure out good ideas. Get a couple, just make sure Frank's up.
Hey, you want me to take that?
Huh?
You want to get in there?
Yeah, you sure? Yeah, absolutely. Take a couple of sides, things and all that.
You almost brought it in.
We're on your side better.
Right here, Dave.
Whatever, yeah.
I'll braid your hair while you're
Yeah, thank you.
It's teamwork.
Don't mind, do fine.
You look pretty good up there front, Pat.
Stand okay.
You're just gonna stand.
Make sure you get this beautiful table as well. Spread.
Oh, no. Think about that. I'm so Everybody smile.
Mr. Moore.
You can tell me.
You got a couple people not smiling.
Three.
Get the audio.
Two, three. All right.
You know, I was so against this, and now.
Yeah,